in fear, which is the opposite of love as we experience it for most of us, the qualities are opposite. And there is a law, and I'll talk about that in another video, about one of the laws is that opposites balance and likes increase likes. Okay. So when we talk about fear, we talk about first the attribute of cold. Cold is contraction, remember. Then it's heavy. Heavy is weighty. And then dull, lackluster. Rough, friction. Cloudy, unfocused. Hard, rigid, impenetrable. Gross, overwhelming. Dense, thick. Dry, brittle. Static, inertia. These are generally the qualities we feel with fear. The interesting thing is love, which represents the positive qualities, whereas fear the negative, these qualities tend to show up all the time. So again, in love, it's expansion, spaciousness, focused, flowing, receptive, open, ungraspable, penetrable, juicy, and movement. Whereas in fear, it's contraction, weightiness, lackluster, friction, unfocused, rigid, impenetrable, overwhelming, thick, brittle, and inertia. Does that sound familiar when you think about love and fear? We'll continue. I want to talk about consciousness. To me, consciousness and love, true love, are the same. And I'd like to give you my definition of consciousness and true love. The awareness and practice of living in non-separation and non-attachment. For most of us, we see love as mostly an attachment and being separate. But the truth, as I see it, is that love is really about non-attachment and non-separation. So, for instance, when we talk about falling in love, if you think about what is falling in love, it's like you get very attached to another, and they get attached to you, and then you imagine all these things about them, and they imagine them about you, and then after some time, for most, it changes or ends, and where's the love? So this has a lot to do with attributes because, as I've talked about them previously, the attributes reflect where we're at. If I'm having a feeling of elation or joy or depression, sadness, insecurity, whatever it is, behind that, if we look, we'll find qualities, attributes, through those sensations that I shared before. So we feel those qualities, those attributes, the more we become conscious, they tend to show up more. We tend to be light and more focused, more open, more soft, more ready to receive, more movement. A lot of those qualities we talk about, or I've talked about with love, have to do with consciousness too. So they're all connected. And in fact, anything that we do in our lives, it really doesn't matter. The first thing we're going to experience, if we check it out, are the qualities from within. We don't usually think about them. We just go into the reaction of what we're feeling, whether it's sad, happy, joyful, peace, whatever it is, but we don't look at the qualities behind them. But they are going to move ourselves to feel a lot of those things. So it's important to begin to recognize them, because if we change the qualities, we change the end result. So sad can become happy, or good can feel bad, or vice versa. It has to do with the qualities in ourselves. So what I'm suggesting to us is to begin to pay more attention to those qualities. Remember, they come through our senses, our 5 senses basically. And everything we experience comes in that way. I like to use an example of a winter day. If I go outside on a winter day without a coat, what's going to happen? I'll feel cold because my body is losing heat. So immediately, I go back into the house and find a coat. It's that simple. So to begin to look at our lives in that way, that everything is about qualities.